Hi everyone, how are you doing? It's Friday night and it's time for another virtual class from Diaz Presents. And tonight we have how to avoid long-term care disaster. And we have Merle Sweet and Imelda Mayhew. And Merle Sweet will share with us her story and her experience with long-term care. And that was actually why we wanted to bring awareness on how to take care of our elderly loved ones when the time comes. And we have a special guest with us, Imelda Mayhew, who's actually a 20-year long time health practitioner. So she was a nurse for 20 years, and she was also a long-term care coordinator for 11 years at one of California's HMOs. So let's bring them in.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Merle. Hi,
Hi, Nick.
Imelda.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good,
Staying,
pretty
staying
good.
warm.
Are you guys staying warm?
Yeah, getting cool
Very
here.
warm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Merle?
Okay, my experience with long-term care was that my father-in-law then, was old in his 90s. So, when you get to the point where you cannot care for yourself, then, someone else would. In his case, we were the caregivers, and it was hard for us being family members because he had his backwards. So his night was day and his day was night. So imagine us going to sleep and he was screaming and yelling. So we could not sleep in the house. Everybody could hear it. And during the day, he's fully asleep while we're trying to, do our jobs, our work. But we didn't get any sleep. But he's, sleeping nicely. And he would, start fighting. And when you're going to change him, he would, like fight with you, slap you, kick you. It's hard. So I vowed to myself that if ever I get to that point where I couldn't care for myself and I start cursing like a sailor, I would make sure I have a professional help who will care for me, and no one should have to go through, especially in this day and age where people are working, they're busy with their lives, and then they have to step in and care for their loved ones. It's not easy. They either get affected emotionally, physically for fatigue, and financially for a lot of people because they're not ready for the expenses. Another personal experience of my own caregiving was that my friend, uh, bless her soul, she passed away actually in wasn't too long ago. She was a nurse and she was making a whole lot of money, but because she did not complete all the steps to complete her long term care policy, she suffered a stroke. And that stroke, because of the stroke, she could not see. She lost her eyes. And Imelda know her very well, and she can add more to that story. I ended up dropping my life and had to take care for her for 1 month, and that was hard. You could not do anything because you'll become that person. You will hold her hand, change her, and feed her, and do everything for her. So, two people who are not prepared for long-term care, to pay for someone professional. But the good note is, I have another friend who, and Imelda knows this person as well, was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's been over a year. But because she has prepared, she was able to cash out on something that she had already set aside and have no worry. She had income coming in even if she could not go to work and have no stress. So that's my experience and my involvement in long term care.
And Imelda, can you tell us something about yourself, please?
Yeah, let me correct you. I've been in the nursing field for 50 years, not 20. I wish 20.
Okay.
I'm an oldie in the profession. I've been in the nursing field from I started with the Cancer Institute in Canada, and then I went into ICU. ICU for about 20 years, and then one my experience there left me so shocked when I saw one of my patients when I was in home health. I had a patient that didn't save money and was eating dog food, and I saw this firsthand, and that was the turning point of my career. So I decided I'm gonna find out what else. How can I avoid being in that predicament with this gentleman? And I also then in the last 11 years of my career as a nurse, I did go into the long-term care. I was the long-term care coordinator for one of the largest HMO here in California, and my experience was pretty vast on that one because I was involved in so many aspects of the long-term care industry. So tonight I will be talking about all of those. Like it's like the anatomy and physiology of long-term care. I'll discuss pretty much in detail about what it is, what is involved, and what can you expect of the different types of care that's out there.
Oops.
I'll be discussing costs, services, and so on. So during my talk, you can text or ask questions later on after my presentation. Maybe we can answer it. Okay, that's
Uh-huh.
about it.
Okay.
So
And do
am I?
you want me to start your slideshow?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, go ahead. So tonight I'll be touching on the realities, the common myths, and misconceptions about long-term care, which is called LTC. I'll be talking about the different kinds of places that take care of patients with different needs, cost, as well as I'm going to talk about the care that's involved. First slide, please. Now, if you look at this slide, if you can read it, I'm going to start with the acute care, which is in the hospital setting. We're going to follow a patient coming from the hospital out, all the way out and into the private sector or in the long-term care area. When you're talking about acute care, this is in a hospital setting. When you go into the hospital, you must meet certain criteria for the stay, and it depends on the severity of the illness and the intensity of service. This is a requirement of the hospitals for your admission. You must be there must be some necessity of care that will only be given in the hospital that will also conform with your illness. So that is called the acute care. When the patient is ready for discharge, you have a case manager assigned to you who will assist you in this transitionary period. Meaning to say, where is the patient going to go from the hospital? The following 6 items here are the places a patient usually goes home from a hospital setting. The first one is either go home alone, wherein they can take care of themselves, or they can go home with a family member, or they can go home with a caregiver for assistance. So a lot of people, most of those that are really well, I mean, they're still ambulatory, they're strong enough to do this, then they go home. The second one is an assisted living facility, ALF, assisted living facility. I'll be discussing this more in the next couple slides. The another part is board and care facilities. And then number 4 is a SNF. We call this a SNF. It's actually skilled nursing facility. And then there's also memory care facility and then acute rehab. So I'm going to be discussing each one of this in detail. Next slide, please. Now we're talking about caregiver. Merlin was talking about this earlier about caregiver services. When you're talking about a caregiver, this is when a patient needs help with the activities of daily living, 1 or 2 of them. There's actually 6 of those. I'll also talk about that. Now, the caregivers can be a family member or members. It could be your friend. It could be church members, or you can hire somebody. There are private, when you hire somebody, it's either a private arrangement between you and the caregiver. It could be your friend that you may, have a special relationship with. That, okay, I have patients wherein they would hire somebody to live in their house, and on in exchange they will take care of the patient. So whatever arrangement can be done that way. The other way is when you hire a caregiver from an agency. Now, when you hire the people from the agency, their caregivers are pretty much trained and bonded. The hourly rate of a caregiver when you go through an agency runs between $15 to $25 per hour or more, depending on the intensity of the service. I have patients that will require a male caregiver because of the lifting. So there are also that will require just depending on what they need, they will give you their requirements, and then you try to fit it into the patient's needs. Now, another one is that a lot of patients can also that needs more care will need 24-hour duty caregivers. This daily rate, they are negotiable per se, depending on how many days you have. You will need a caregiver and the intensity of service. The daily rates can run from $150 to $250 a day. So they're so much cheaper if you rent them for like even you hire them on a daily basis than the hourly basis. If you look at the hourly basis, it's from $15 to $25 per hour. And some of them have a minimum of 4 hours. Sometimes if the patient cannot cannot afford these payments, what I would do is I would suggest that the caregiver come, like if they can only afford, let's say 4 hours a day, then I would recommend that the caregiver comes in at 2 hours in the morning to get the patient up, bathe them, feed them, then they fix a cold lunch, and then they come back at night to put them back to bed. So you can make any arrangements with the caregiver depending on the need. Now, on the daily rate also, it ranges from 150 to 250, and you must have a bed in the room or somewhere in the house where the caregiver can also rest. Okay. On because of labor laws, they want, before I left the industry, I remember that we had to get two caregivers for a 24-hour shift. Okay, because they cannot work 24 hours by themselves. It's going to be hard. And next slide, please. Now, this, I'm going to talk about SNF. This is called the Skilled Nursing Facilities. A lot of people don't understand what is a SNF, and myself included, until I work in this industry. There are two kinds of population that are in a nursing home. We call it a nursing home or home for the aged or rehab. You have two kinds of patients. The first one I'm going to talk about is called skilled care. These are the patients that are in there only for short-term basis, and they do need care that is provided by a licensed personnel. This is the key point in here. If the care has to be given by a licensed staff member, then the insurance will pay for it. Now, what are the different needs of us that you'll need a licensed person? It will be administration of IV fluids or IV medications like IV antibiotics and other meds. They may need complex wound care. For example, bed sores. We rate the bed sores up to 4 stages, stage 4 being the worst one. And that takes time for them to really get over that or get well. And that needs certain kinds of extensive wound care. And the nursing homes has an assigned wound care nurse, and they are certified. So they're the ones that will take care of this complex wound care. Another one is new feeding tubes, like nasogastric tube for feeding, or gastric tube directly into the stomach, or other kinds of ostomies. You may have a colostomy, a nephrostomy, and so on. Another one is if they require physical therapy, okay, or occupational therapy, speech therapy. For example, a patient had been in the hospital for quite a while and they're so deconditioned that they need to have physical therapy again to bring them up and build up their strength and resistance and start walking. So in cases like stroke, this is where they really need it. And those that had been deconditioned so much by staying in the hospital for quite a long time. And then there's also others. So there are other criteria that we use for the patient to go into a skilled nursing facilities. On the right side of the screen, it says there, what are the forms of payment? Who pays for the stay for a patient that goes in a nursing home? The first one is either private pay or you pay cash directly to the facility. Another form of payment is Medicare, which is for those age 65 and above. And then another one is Medi-Cal, which is the state-funded insurance for California. Medicaid, that is the same one, but it's for the other states. That's just how it's called. These are state funded for very low income people or indigents with no health insurance. Okay, so the state will come in and pay for their care, but they have some strict rules as well. Now, another one, the letter D there, if you have health insurance, either group or individual or private insurance. Now, uh, based on this ones, the nursing homes will look at what kind of insurance do you have. And we have, me as the coordinator for the hospital, I have to talk to them and they will ask questions regarding the patient. What do they need? What are the insurance and so on and so forth. So I arrange for that one up to the transfer of the patients. The case manager in the hospital will do that, and then I handle the patient when they hit the nursing home. Then I take over at that point. And next slide, please. Now, in the skilled nursing facility, understand that we follow Medicare guidelines. Everybody there will follow Medicare guidelines. If you're a Medicare patient, you must qualify for the 3-day qualifying hospital stay before you can be transferred to a nursing home and be paid by Medicare. Follow me? If you went to the hospital and you were only there for 2 days and you want to go to a nursing home, they're not going to pay for that. There's a 3-day qualification stay, hospital stay. Another thing is it must be ordered by a physician before you cannot just walk into a nursing home and say, hey, I need PTOT. Okay. It has to be ordered by a physician. And here's the kicker here. There's no copay the first 20 days, but the copay will start on the 21st day of your admission up to the 100th day. Your days in a skilled nursing facility, the skilled care, is only good for 100 days. You don't have to take it continuously. It could be broken. And there are other rules and regulations about that as well. Supposing a patient had a stroke and cannot get out of bed or feed themselves or go to the bathroom and so on, and they really need a little bit of maximum care. Let's say they went on the 21st day, then the copay will start. In I don't know, is it here? Yeah, here. On Medicare, the copay is $140 per day to the patient. Patient has to pay that to the nursing home. 140 days. So the clock starts ticking 21 days and on. On the HMOs, they are much lower, something like $50 per day. This is how they will attract people to use their services on the HMO. So the copay is less on that one. Now, I'm gonna if you've used 100 days, after midnight on the 100th day, everything is paid cash. Medicare will stop paying, insurance will stop paying on the 100th day. You have to also, I've had this happen so many times with the patients, different kinds of patients, like they would say, oh, I'm not ready to go home yet. But if you do not meet the criteria of the skilled care, by Medicare guidelines, you cannot stay there. You can stay if you really want, but you have to pay the daily rate. Although you can try to appeal the decision, and then it goes through a process whether it is upheld or it is denied. Okay, next slide, please. This is the second population that stays in a nursing home. The first one, as I said, needs skilled care, must be done by a licensed personnel, and it's short term. The second population are the custodial care or the long-term care. This is where people stay there. Their stay does not need the services of a licensed personnel, but just assistance with activities of daily living. That's what we call ADLs. Now, we go through 6 activities of daily living, and this is what we would look at the patient and say, hey, okay, the patient has a stroke, cannot feed himself, cannot bathe himself, he needs help with dressing, he cannot go to the bathroom, he needs help pulling his pants down, wiping himself, and so on and so forth. He cannot move in and out of bed, or he cannot even walk, so he needs a lot of help. So if he had already used all of the 100 days for skilled care, then this kicks in, which is the long-term care. And look at on the right side. This is only paid 3 ways: either cash, medical insurance, or if you have long-term care insurance. That's it. Another way, by the way, I've seen a lot of people wherein they would also use their annuity distribution to pay the nursing home. So if they have an annuity and it keeps paying them the same amount every month, then that money could be paid towards their stay in the nursing home. This is the cost for I called the different facilities here because before I used to handle 15 facilities. Yeah, I was in charge of 15 facilities, and I had to oversee the patients in there with the physicians. Now, the cost for long-term care, if you need custodial care, that if there's 2 of you in the room, it's $250 a day plus house supplies. Okay, there's add-ons on that one. So that you're looking at $7,500 a month. That's pretty much cheap. Okay. Now, if you want a single room, that could run you from it says here $550 per day. You have a private room and you have your own bathroom, and that is still plus other supplies. On the $550 per day, that will run you around $16,500 a day. This is the biggest factor in losing your retirement money when you go into long-term care and you are not covered with any other plan. This, I've seen so many families break apart on this one financially because the expense is just too great. I'll give you an example. I had a son of a patient call me, and he was crying, and he said, Imelda, I remember the guy because I placed his mother in a nursing home. He couldn't take care of the mother, and he said, Imelda, I'm what shall I do? I said, what happened? He said, I used up all of my 401k to put mom in the nursing home for only 10 months. He lost all his 70,000 401k. Can you believe that? You don't ever want that to happen to you. I've seen so many family members fight over who's going to take care of mom. If they cannot afford to put them in the nursing home, they either have to take them home and take care of themselves. But then who's going to take care of mom from this day, from what days? And I've seen so many families fight over this, and I end up being the mediator in it, wherein we would put schedules and tell them, hey, this person shall take care of mom from this hour and this hour, and then they go into shifts. It may be good for the first week, and then they start fighting, and the patient's condition worsens. They go back to the hospital, and we're back again in the same. It's ugly out there. Can I have the next slide, please? I hope I'm not depressing you too much, but this is reality, what I'm teaching you. Now, assisted living facilities or senior living facilities, these are either paid in cash or long-term care benefits. This runs again from $7,500 per month and up. Now, This is a housing facility for people with disabilities or for adults who choose not to live independently. They may have their own homes, but they don't want to stay there anymore. They want to be taken care of. They don't want to take care of their yard, so they go into senior living facilities. There are private rooms with bath, like a hotel room or an apartment without a kitchen. I've seen a lot of this. Some are really nice, and then they also have extra services, but they are charged. It's like a la carte. Okay, if they need to be fed, if they need to be bathed, or we have to give them, they have to give their medication or inject the insulin, and so on. Those are extra charges. They can go as high as extra 400, 500 per month on top of the regular rate. The residents here are more independent and ambulatory. They have common areas, dining rooms, and they can also even accommodate couples. And have next slide, please. Now, on the board and care, you've heard of a lot of people say, oh, I own a board and care facility. These are homes, residential properties that are licensed and converted into taking care of the elderly. Uh, it's like, you're a boarder in the house. Okay, you don't, they have no licensed personnel in there. They just have people that can cook, clean, and if you need assistance, usually they want you to be mobile, and if you need more care, then the costs go up. Okay, the residents here need minimal to moderate assistance with their activities of daily living, and the cost here ranges from 2,500 as high as who knows what, maybe 4,000, 5,000 a month, depending on what they want. A lot of people, when they want a private room, that immediately goes to the 4,500 to $5,000 per month rate. Okay, they feed you, they clean your room, they wash your linen, and the owners of these facilities, they're licensed, and the state also come and inspect them every now and then. So they still have to follow strict regulations with the state and the local agencies. Next slide, please. Now, memory care facilities, these are for people with cognitive impairments or Alzheimer's or dementia, wherein they may be, we call them wanderers. So, and a lot of them are locked facilities, locked units. They even have doors, exit doors, which would set off the alarm when it's open, just to alert the staff that, hey, somebody opened the door, go check. Maybe somebody is running away from the facility. So that is a memory care facility. They run as well from $7,000 per month and up, because they need um, more oversight by the staff. Now, the next one is the acute rehab. Acute rehab is just like an acute care or a hospital. This is where the patient needing acute rehabilitation, especially after a stroke or an accident, or care with ventilators. When the patient goes home with a ventilator, a trach, they go to acute rehab, and they must be able to do um, to assist in their rehab of at least 2 hours per day. That is the requirement. They must be able to do the rehab up to 2 hours a day. And when they leave the rehab department, they cannot go to a nursing home. They go straight home. So this is where we educate the family members. Hey, this is what's gonna happen, and that was my job, was to educate them on the steps of the patient's progress, and what was expected until they go home. This is a very expensive. One of the most expensive is the acute rehab. They run from $900 per day and up. Okay, so especially if you have a lot of people will think that the patients going into these facilities I had mentioned are all seniors. No, my youngest was a 1-year-old baby. 1-year-old baby ended up with a tracheostomy and had to be taken care of in the acute rehab. The family couldn't take care of the baby, so the baby went into medical paid for it, but the rate was this much. It was a sad state. But there's so many cases. And also the average age of people that go in long-term care for long-term care is actually in the 40s. Most of us will think, oh, the elderly, they're old and they're in wheelchairs and so on. No, because you get a lot of young people now that are getting sick, accidents and strokes, heart attacks, cancers, and lung problems. A lot of young people are really getting debilitated with these diseases. And that's why we're seeing a lot of them now in these facilities. So this is pretty much the end of my presentation. You can ask me any questions, or Merlin, I want to thank you for your time in listening to this one, and I'll give it back to Mick.
So if any of you do have questions, just type them in the comment below, and Merle or Imelda will answer them for you. And Merle, if you can enlighten us a little bit about your experience, please do so.
Yes. A lot of times, we don't prepare for, the future, like our long-term care expenses. And back to my friend who passed away recently, she was forced to move in with her family in the north because she could not afford to pay for someone. She had nobody to take care for her. So from enjoying her life, being independent, now she have to move in with family, and they have not really seen each other for a long time, and there were family issues there. But what choice did she have? And she ended up staying in a nursing home in the north, and the quality of care was very depressing. What happened was, her sister was on vacation, and when her sister came back to check on her, she literally was not changed for days because her diaper was dry. And and then, she was very dehydrated. So, Ate Imelda, how easy is it to get into a nursing home if you're under
If
medical?
you have medical, that is the nursing homes, they have a certain amount of beds allotted for medical. And if they have beds, they may take the patient, but it's always up to them to accept a patient into their facility. So I had to really look far and wide to be able to facilitate and put a patient inside a place wherein the care is sufficient or good. But not all of them there are the best. We know that. Okay, it's so if you have money, I don't know, it's really, this is from my experience. If you have money, you can get the best ones. And at the time, I'd had to fight. I had to fight with the facilities to accept the patient. And hey, because we were the advocate for the patients. I have to be the advocate for the patients in getting the best care and the best whatever they need. That way we can get them home to the Philippines. Now, I didn't tell you, I've had history also of personal on long-term care. I have a relative who developed dementia. No families around. I ended up taking care of her 24 hours in my home for 6 weeks because there was no money that we could pay for the a nursing home. I even had to ask a friend of ours, and but it was like 3,000 a month, and she was only receiving such a small portion from her social security. So I had to do whatever, that this is where my expertise in long-term care was really put to the test, because I had to take care of her personally. And I ended up taking her back to the Philippines, which is also another option for us Filipinos, because then I was able to find a home for her there for only, guess how much? $30,000, 30,000 pesos a month. That's only like $650. And that is run by the nuns. And it's very nice. and they only charge us $10 per month for a for a every other weekly visit by the physician, and the physician is in the facility. So this place is very well. It has a very long list. It took us 6 months before we could get her in, but that's just one option. I can tell us that, hey, if you really are short of funds, if you go outside of the United States, you can possibly find something like this that was really ideal for in the case of my relative. And my mom as well, as you know, she's 100 years old. She just suffered a stroke last week, 2 weeks ago, and but we were able to keep her at home with my sister and have a 24-hour caregivers for her because it's cheaper in the Philippines. So you'll have to check on your options. What do you want to do really? Please, everybody, have have a plan on what can I do I have long-term care insurance? Because in my experience in 11 years in this industry, out of the thousands of patients that I had that went through our department, I only found six that had long-term care insurance. Only six. Not even doctors had it, not even their families. They had troubles taking care of the cost. You understand this. When you transfer a patient from the nursing home to visit their doctor for a visit, that is not a paid expense. The family has to pay for the transportation or take the patient themselves. And if you ask somebody to take them, they will charge you an arm and a leg. It could be in the hundreds just to go for dialysis. And how many times do you go for dialysis? 3 times a week, maybe. If you don't have medical, that is private pay. So it's to avoid long-term care disaster. It's just plain planning. Okay, because there are so many plans out there that's readily available, and we are just not aware of this. That's why when I got out of this industry and I saw that there is a solution out there, and I grabbed it and I said I have to teach everybody this. And so if you have any questions, you can call me or Merle about it. Okay, thank you.
And so someone was asking what services do you offer?
Who? Me?
Yes. Yes,
Me.
someone was asking what services do you offer?
Okay, I am retired. I am in the financial industry right now. Okay, I we educate people on what to do if this part of your about life situations, and then we'll show you solutions, and it's up to you to make a decision. We just educate, like what I'm doing right now. I'll just tell you, and then you go, okay, how can I do this? And then we can refer you to the different services that's available out there in the open.
And someone was asking, they were saying that she was denied LTC because she had pre-existing conditions. Do all insurances have the same criteria for approval?
I have to know more details about why he was declined. Not LT. Okay. Was he trying to buy LTC insurance? I think that's what he was trying to say.
Uh, I think
Long-term
so
care
because she
insurance.
had
Yeah.
pre-existing health conditions.
Yeah, if you apply for a long-term care insurance, the insurance company has the right to do underwriting, and they're gonna look at your history. So if the history, maybe if let's say you have cancer in the past and you want long-term care now, or you had heart problems, of course they're gonna be very strict about that, and they could deny you. Or if you have AIDS, HIV positive, things like this. Even the coronavirus right now, they're really looking at it on this other underwriting guidelines. The best thing to do is to plan ahead of time while you're young, while you're healthy, get it, rather than scrambling at the end and then you can't qualify. But this is the reason there's so many problems like this is a lot of people are not educated in this. That's why you would like to really open your eyes. And me, I've seen this with my own eyes for 11 years. I fought for the patients, and it's just like it's really ugly out there when you don't have coverage.
And we also have another question. What is the age requirement for applying for long-term care? Is there a minimum age?
It's actually how much can you afford. Every insurance company is different, so you'll just have to give the data, and then we can find something maybe that will fit your need. How's that? Because long-term care insurance by itself, they call it standalone, is pretty expensive, and there are new products right now wherein it's incorporated in another, it's bundled up and it's much cheaper. So that's an answer.
And if you want to apply for long term care insurance, you have to be 18 years old at least to be able to qualify. If it's long term care insurance that you're looking for, right? At the Mills.
Yeah, I had one patient who had long-term care insurance, and I was surprised because she was in her, I think she was almost 80 years old, and she needed to stay for long-term care. So I told her the cost, and she goes, "That's okay. I have long-term care insurance." And I go, "Whoa!" She was one of my six. So I asked her, "How much was your premium when you were still paying for that one?" And she said, "Oh, I've been paying for it since I was working." I said, "Okay, how much was your premium?" 600 a month. 600 a month, a long time ago. That's more than a car payment.
Wow.
But she was paying 600. But right now, she was one of my patients wherein she could go anywhere because she had such good coverage. You can take a pick. It's like staying at the Four Seasons in terms of long-term care facilities. So planning is everything.
And
Go ahead.
someone was asking, do you offer long-term care insurance, or do you help um find long-term care placement solutions for seniors?
Run that by me
So
again. Is it two questions there?
yeah, yes. Do you offer long-term care insurance, or do you help find long-term care placement solutions for seniors?
I can do both. We can do both. In my the placement, if they're talking about placement for seniors, you go to your case managers or your social workers. And the doctors usually work with these people. If you're in a hospital and you need long-term care placement, that was where I came in. I was the coordinator. I look for the facility. I look at where the patient lives, where is their doctor, where is their pharmacy. That's on the long-term care department of the hospital. Every hospital has a long-term care department pretty much taking care of this kind of patients, and that was where I was assigned. Now, for long-term care insurance, we can explain to you what is out there and what will fit your needs.
When you mentioned that, there's even a plan. There's a provider out there that if you have asset, they'll tag on the long-term care rider, and you can also get continuous pay. So you can get paid for long-term care for as long as you're alive. I love that.
Yeah, I had helped a client that had a problem. It was a husband and wife, and the husband had diabetes, and we were able to get him a coverage with long-term care for life. So there's a lot out there that's available. You just have to do it on an individual basis.
And so before we're almost at 8 o'clock, but for those people who are watching, we do have a couple of raffle prizes. We have two Starbucks cards that we're raffling off, right, Meryl?
Yes.
And so, do you want two rounds? So one round for one, and then another one for another winner. Because right now we only have four. We only have five people on the list. So whoever's watching, go ahead and hashtag long term care if you want to win one Starbucks card. We'll have two winners, but one Starbucks card for each one. So go
Yes,
ahead
hashtag
and
long-term care
hashtag
to be
long-term
able
care.
to be entered in the raffle.
Yes. So
Are you
right
going to pick the
now,
name, Meg?
yes, right now I have Ornella Curry, I have Cecil Wong Chung, Anne Varan, Connie Oliverio. Who else wants a Starbucks card? Come on, we all need Starbucks, right?
Yes.
So I see a lot of people um, joining in, and when while I enter their names, um, maybe you Merle can talk a little bit more about your experience with long-term care, and where they can find you or Imelda
Sure.
in case they have more questions.
Long-term care is really the biggest expense that we will face when we cannot care for ourselves. That could be due to injury, illness, serious illness, or we just, we get to the point where, at the age where we cannot just change our own diapers, pretty much. And I know so many families who had a lot of wealth, but they exhausted that money, on long-term care. Money they have worked so hard for, even, their retirement, until they exhausted their assets. It's sad because there's a way to avoid that, and that's planning now. And Imelda and I, we hold workshops for that. So just message me or message Imelda. Just say info, and then we can help you find solutions, because not one provider, not all providers can cater to all clients. They have their own niches. So just hit us with info, and we will be happy to help you. And Imelda is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to long-term care, placement, and all that. You can ask her anytime. She is very resourceful and very helpful.
Okay, I think I'm closing the raffle right now. So I know there's a little bit of delay. There's about a 10-second delay. But yeah, so I closed the raffle. I have Dorothy Pasamba as the last one. Her. So I have Ornella, Connie, Anne Varan, Cecil Wong Chung, Jennifer Alfonso C, Imelda Rodriguez, Trinidad, Christy Turquesa, Edwin Geronimo, Onyx Argento, Malu Valdez, and Dorothy Datu Pasamba. I have you guys up and running for a Starbucks gift card, right, Merle? Are
Yes,
you ready? Are
we
you
are
ready to
ready.
give away
Jump on.
one Starbucks gift card? So this is the first round. Let me share the screen. It's gonna be so fun. Okay, here we go.
Here we
Oh,
go.
it's not working. Oh my god.
It's loaded with names. It can't spin.
Yeah, it can't spin. It's loaded right now. Look. Oh my gosh, what's happening? What is happening?
There.
You have to spin it with your fingers.
Spin, 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 spin.
Yay! And Brand,
And
the
yay!
first winner of our Starbucks gift card.
And
And
make sure you
then,
email me. Oh, okay. I will message you so I can ask for your mailing info, or however you want to claim your prize.
okay, so just message Merle
Yes.
and Varan. Okay, so the second Starbucks gift card goes to.
Spin, spin, spin. Make Diaz.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so
Who's that?
Ornella Curry.
Oh,
Wow.
congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Arnella,
Congratulations,
message me, please.
Ornella! And Anne Varan, congratulations. You guys won one Starbucks gift card each.
Congratulations.
And thank you so much, Merle and Imelda, for sharing with us your expertise and sharing with us your stories and experiences with long term care and taking care of our elderly loved ones. And would you like to say anything else before we go?
No,
I would
just
like
plan.
to thank Imelda for sharing her wisdom and her time. And Mick,
Thank
you're
you.
awesome.
You're welcome.
We love you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for
Thank
hosting.
you for sponsoring this. Yes, this is good. I like this.
Yes. And we at Imelda have more intensive workshops. And if you want to be invited, just message me and I can give you access to her, workshop room. She have an exclusive workshop. And that's pretty much it, Mick.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Imelda?
No, that's about it. Just you have our contact numbers anyway, so maybe they can just call you to get hold of us.
Okay. All right.
I'm
Um.
in Southern California, so let you know. Merle,
o-
where are you at?
I'm in Florida right now, but I'll be
Okay.
back soon.
Okay.
And I'm in a historic Filipino town. I'm representing historic Filipino town, Los Angeles.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You
That was another day of Mick Diaz presents. And don't forget, tonight at 8:30 we have karaoke. 8:30 to whenever they finish. Um, yes, and that's about it for this week. And next week, we have Holly Santiago, who will be doing a voice lesson class. So if you want to join Imelda and Merle in the voice lessons, you're welcome to. Yeah, so that's next week. And thank you all so much. And before we go, I just wanted to thank our sponsors for this class. We have Mike Agbayani of Car Passion Detailing. He has two kinds of car detailing services. He has the Refresh and the Rejuvenate. And I heard a lot of people are really, really satisfied with his work. So you guys better visit him. They're at Ontario. And then we have Laurelyn Vanny of Bella Ink Artistry. She does eyebrows. And you can find both of them on Facebook and Instagram. And we also have CMC Legacy Group. That's Cecil Wong Chung. She's the managing partner and senior accountant of CMC Legacy Group, and they offer accounting services and tax services and a whole lot of other business consulting services. And the Hi-Fi Hedgehog gift shop. We're located at historic Filipino town, and we sell succulents and a lot of unique gifts and Korean skincare products and stationaries and all of that stuff. So once again, thank you so much. We'll see you next week for another set of Nick Diaz Presents virtual classes. Bye, guys. Good night.
night. Night night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ate Mills. Thank you.